Nice to meet you again in the cost management cost management course. For today, we will learn about basic cost management concepts. Our in the book is in chapter 3. The material for today's come from Cost Management book by Blecher et al. Learning objectives are understanding the strategic role of basic cost concepts, explain cost driver concepts at the activity, volume, structural, and executional levels, and then explain the cost concepts used in product and service costing, demonstrate how costs flow through the formal accounting system, and then prepare and interpret an income statement for both a manufacturing firm and a merchandising firm. Then explain the cost concepts related to the use of cost information in planning and decision making. And explain the cost concepts related to the use of cost information for control or feedback purposes. Well, we continue with the basic definitions. A critical first step in achieving a competitive advantage is to identify the key costs and cost drivers in the firm or organization. Okay, a firm incurs a cost when it uses a resource for some purpose. So, a cost is incurred when a firm uses a resource for some purpose. For example, a company producing kitchen appliances uses certain resources. The cost of materials such as sheet metal and bolts for the enclosure. Cost of manufacturing labor and other costs. Often, costs are assembled into meaningful groups, called cost pool. Now, costs can be grouped in many different ways, including by type of cost or resource. For example, labor cost in one pool, material cost in another. If by source, for example, department 1, department 2, and etc. Yeah. And then a cost driver is any factor that has the effect of changing the amount of total cost. Now, for a firm that competes on the basis of cost leadership, management of the key cost driver is essential. For example, to achieve its low-cost leadership in manufacturing, P&G carefully watches the design and manufacturing factors that drive the cost of its products. It makes design improvements when necessary, and the manufacturing plants are designed and automated for the highest efficiency in using material. Okay, now we move to a cost object. A cost object is any product, service, customer, activity, or organizational unit to which costs are assigned. Okay, for cost concepts, this is an overview. Yeah, actually, there are four main ways to classify costs. Yeah, different costs for different purposes. First of all, for product and service costing, yeah, generally accepted accounting principles. And then for strategic decision making, cost driver analysis. For planning and decision making, and then for control or feedback. Now, we will learn one by one from the main ways to classify costs. Product or service costing, this one. Generally accepted accounting principle. The process of assigning costs to cost pools or from cost pool to cost objects is called cost assignment. Yeah, this one. The process of assigning costs to cost pools or from cost pools to cost objects. There are two types of assignment, direct tracing and allocation. Direct tracing is used for assigning direct costs and allocation is used for indirect costs. Any cost is either a direct or indirect cost relative to the cost pool or cost object. Yeah. For direct costs can be conveniently and economically traced to a cost pool or a cost object. For example, the cost of materials required for a particular product is a direct cost because it can be traced directly to the product. Now, we continue. In a manufacturing company, the materials cost is accumulated in cost pool and then is traced to each product manufacturer, which is the cost object. Now, in contrast, there is no convenient or economical way to trace an indirect cost. Yeah. So indirect costs cannot be traced conveniently or economically to a cost pool or a cost object. Because indirect costs cannot be traced, assignment is made through the use of cost drivers or cost allocation. These cost drivers are often called allocation based. Okay, we continue. Yeah, still cost assignment, general principle. This picture explains the relationships between costs, cost pools, and cost objects in appliance manufacturing. Now here, this is the example of cost or resource cost ya, electric motor, material handling, supervision, packing material, and final expansion. And then cost pools here is the example of cost pool here are assembly and packing. And then the object here, cost objects, are dishwasher or washing machine. Yeah, this is cost pool, assembly and packing, and this cost object is dishwasher and washing machine. And from cost to cost pool is cost driver, and then from cost pool to cost object is cost assignment. Okay. We move to next page, yeah, product and service costing concept. Okay, product costs include only the cost necessary to complete the product at the manufacturing step in the value chain or manufacturing, or to purchase and transport the product to the location of sale or merchandising. Okay, and then period costs include all other costs incurred by the firm in managing or selling the product, which is indirect costs outside the manufacturing step of the value chain. Okay, we move to direct and indirect product costs for a manufacturer. Direct material costs include the cost of materials in the product or other cost object, less purchase discount but including freight and related charges, and usually a reasonable allowance for scrap and defective units. For example, if a part is stamped from strip steel, the material loss in the stamping is ordinarily included as part of the product's direct material. And on the other hand, the cost of materials used in manufacturing that are not part of the finished product is indirect materials cost. Examples include supplies used by manufacturing employees, such as racks and small tools, or materials required by the machine, such as lubricant. For convenience and economic feasibility, direct materials that are a very small part of materials cost, such as glue and nails, are often not traced to each product but are included instead in indirect materials. Direct and indirect labor costs. Direct labor costs includes the labor used to manufacture the product or to provide the service, plus some portion of non-value added time that is normal and unavoidable, such as coffee breaks and personal time. Other types of non-productive labor that are discretionary and planned, such as downtime, payroll taxes, fringe benefits, vacation, and training, usually are included not as direct labor but as indirect labor. On the other hand, indirect labor cost is labor cost that cannot be readily traced to outputs. An example, they are manufacturing support costs. The example of indirect labor costs are supervision, quality control, inspection, purchasing and receiving, materials handled, and etc. Direct and indirect product costs, yeah, further comments. All indirect costs for the manufacturers, including indirect materials, indirect labor, and other indirect items, are often combined in a cost pool referred to as overhead or factory overhead or indirect manufacturing costs. The three main types of costs, direct materials, direct labor, and overhead, are often condensed even further. Direct materials plus direct labor equal prime cost, and then direct labor plus overhead equal conversion cost. This is explain manufacturing versus merchandising. Yeah, cost flows in manufacturing and merchandising firm. For the left side, this is manufacturing company, and the right side is merchandising company. For manufacturing company, there are some steps. Yeah, first step, second step, and third step. For merchandising company, is simple. Yeah, merchandise purchases, product inventory, and cost of goods sold. Okay, cost for strategic. When we move to the next subchapter, cost for strategic decision making. Okay, inventory valuation versus strategic costing. Cost drivers provide two roles for the management accountant: assigning cost to cost object and then explaining cost behavior. Example, how total cost changes as the cost driver changes. There are four types of cost driver, which are activity-based, volume-based, structural, and executional. Okay, this is related to cost drivers. Here, there are four types of cost driver: activity-based, volume-based, structural, and executional. Here, we will discuss one by one. Okay, for activity-based. Activity-based costing, or ABC drivers, are developed at a detailed level of operations using activity analysis. A cost driver is determined for each activity. And then volume-based Yeah, volume-based cost drivers relate to the amount produced or quantity or service provided. The relationship between the cost driver, yeah, in volume-based cost driver, the relationship between the cost driver and total cost is approximately linear within the relevant range. Outside of the relevant range, the law of diminishing marginal returns generally applies. And then structural cost driver. It facilitates strategic decision making because they involve plans and decisions that have long-term effect. Scale, experience, technology, and complexity are considered in hopes of improving competitive position. The last is executional cost driver, yeah, which facilitate operational decision making by focusing on short-term effects. Example, workforce involvement, design of the production process, and supplier relationships are considered in an attempt to reduce costs. Now, the next chapter, cost information for short-term planning. Classification by behavior. Now, what is meant by cost behavior? Cost behavior is how total cost changes as the cost driver changes. Yeah. These are common classifications of cost behavior: fixed or capacity cost, and then variable cost, mixed cost, and step cost. Fixed cost is the portion of total cost that doesn't change with changes in output. Total fixed cost and unit variable costs are expected to remain approximately constant within the relevant range. Okay, this is the fixed cost, and then variable cost is the change in total cost associated with each change in quantity of the cost driver. Okay, for the cost driver can be activity based or volume based. Typically, management accountants in practice use the term variable cost in connection with volume-based cost drivers. Yeah, this is fixed cost, variable cost, and then mixed cost. Mixed cost is used to refer to a total cost figure that includes both a fixed and variable component. And then step costs vary with the cost driver but do so in steps. So a cost is said to be a step cost when it varies with the cost driver but does so in steps. Now, step costs are characteristic of certain clerical tasks such as order filling and claims processing. Okay, the application of uh, cost information for short-term plannings are budgeting and then cost volume profit analysis or profit planning. So this is the example of fixed cost. Yeah. For fixed cost, it's said that portion of the cost of total cost that doesn't change with output within the relevant range. So the output is 3,500. The total cost is $3,000. If the total output or unit is increased, such as 3,600, for total cost is the same. Yeah, this is total cost. So the portion of the total cost doesn't change, although the unit is changed. And this one is variable cost. For variable cost is the change in total cost associated with each change in the quantity of the cost driver. This one is the number of units is increased, so the total cost is also increased. It's called variable cost. Okay, we move to short-run decision-making cost concepts. Relevant is the most important characteristic for information used in decision-making. Relevant costs have two properties. They differ for each decision option and they will be incurred in the future. And an opportunity cost is the benefit lost when choosing one option precludes receiving the benefit from the alternative option. Okay. There's also sunk costs. Sunk costs are costs that have been incurred or committed in the past and are therefore irrelevant in current decision making. Okay, we are now moved to qualitative characteristics of cost information for planning and decision making. There are three other characteristics that are important for planning and decision making. They are accuracy, cost and value of cost information, and timeliness. For accuracy is also the need to monitor internal accounting controls. Okay, and then cost and value of cost information. The cost of information should be monitored by the management accountant to ensure that costs do not outweigh the associated benefit. Timeliness means often involves sacrificing in the other two areas. Okay, now we move to cost information for control or feedback purposes. Controllability is a basic consideration in evaluating managers and providing feedback. A cost is considered controllable if the manager or employee has discretion in choosing to incur it or can influence the amount in a short period of time. The controllability of some costs is subject to debate. For example, changes in interest rates, foreign exchange fluctuation, or changes in state or local taxes. Yeah. Should the manager be responsible for these changes? Okay, that's all for today. Yeah, this is just the chapter summary. Okay, thank you very much for your attention. And then we continue to the discussion. Thanks.